So can you tell us what inspired the film, and is there any connection to your growing up and your childhood, of course?
Yeah. So yes, of course, the film is inspired by an actual photo safari I went on as a teen. And so when it came to Liz and I deciding what our next story was going to be, we went, well, it makes complete sense. We'll do this one. So, yeah.
So what is it about if you could give us a little background of like the the tension between indigenous people and of course white people in Australia, which you kind of point out in the film, of course.
Well, Australia is a colonised country, and so there's always been a unresolved kind of reconciliation that needs to happen, and so from that comes our generational trauma, our stolen generations, our disparities, both economically, our land disposition, and so that really navigates my storytelling because it's a lived experience for me. But on top of that, we have great resilience, great perseverance, and which is why our film has these themes, but also this really beautiful, uplifting kind of a narrative that runs through it.
And I've also noticed with your film and a lot of films here at TIFF is that Parenthood, when parents neglect their child in some sort of way, it does affect them so much. And we see it. I see it through many films here, like I said, and I see it through your film. But yeah, comment a little bit about that and what are we doing as parents and why are we failing so much in our when it comes to our children?
Well, I think this goes back, especially with my culture with stolen generation, because when you are taken from your parents, the people that inspire you and teach you how to be a parent, when you become a parent yourself, it becomes a complicated journey, and you have the kind of nature or nurture effects of that. But when are suffering from any trauma, it's very hard to connect to do you be a good person? Do I deserve to be a good person? So I think parents, God, if I could solve it, that'd be awesome, But I think it's about forgiving yourself. I think it's about, I always tap into my ancestors and what they went through with colonisation. And even then, my grandparents, and my grandparents, they were great leaders, even though they were going through a very different, era, which we all have our own struggles in each era. But they really gave us the best that we could. So, I think it's just about finding the light at the end of the tunnel of it all, really. And I think we all have this really beautiful strength as humans. It's empathy that we can tap into.
A lot of the landscape you use in the film and you scouting the locations of the films it's so beautiful. But it contrasts this sort of like darkness in your main character and her growing up in his childhood. It's a very beautiful contrast. Tell us, what was that experience like when you're actually scouting those locations for your
Well,
film?
I grew up in the Pilbara as well as the Kimberley. I'm a Nyulnyul Yaru woman from the Kimberley, but I also grew up in the Pilbara. Actually, after I won't go into that. It's another story. But because culturally, country is a sentient being. It's not just somewhere that you build on or live on. You look after it. We're custodians, and so looking at country, I do look at it very differently, and I respect it very differently. And so even in writing it, it became a part of the character. So looking for those places in juxtaposition with the mining. The colossal size of the mining and the colossal size of the environment and how they all are significant to her journey. So just finding that balance of what you see, because I've got this thing, a lot of people leave somewhere because they think leaving somewhere will leave what they've got inside behind. But the journey is like coming back to where you are and finding the beauty and how you can survive in that environment. Your strength, again, coming back to your strength.
From what I understand, this is your directorial debut, and you've been accepted here at the Toronto International Film Festival. Tell us the actual the actual story, or like what actually inspired you to say, you know, I'm going to make my first film? Yeah.
So Liz Carney and I, who's like one of my best friends, but also my producer, we just want to work together forever and ever and ever. And so she inspired me to go look into a story that was really personal and really authentic. And show my jugular and go, this is, you know, and actually when we were researching the story, that's when I found out that it was for at-risk kids. Like I had no idea, and that was a huge thing for me. So writing this whole film was very cathartic. And so we decided, you know, we need to see young Indigenous protagonists, females, not seeing that hardly ever, I think. I'd hate to say I'm the first because, you know, but I think definitely in a lot of cultures, seeing a protagonist female Indigenous girl going through a kind of coming of age is very rare as well. I love that idea. But really, I just wanted to, you know, talk about my family because I love them so much, you know, and pay homage to them. This is like a love letter to my family, you know.
Now tell us your experience of being here in Toronto and having your film selected here at the Toronto International Film Festival. You know what? And I've asked all these filmmakers, especially after the pandemic we've all gone through, and then absolutely no festivaling. You know what I mean? No tiffing and such. But yeah, what's that experience like? And tell us about you know, everybody coming back to the forefront.
Yeah, you can see there's a definite joy here on the streets. You know, we've been very lucky in Western Australia, where I'm from. We had like the pandemic was contained really intensely, so we still had audiences at festivals. But you can see this beautiful, everyone's just exhaled, and in the full gamut of TIFF has been just so joyous. I've loved it. I can't believe we're here. We finished editing in June this year, so we've been to MIF, Cinefest and TIFF. And beyond, hopefully. But it's just beautiful. We had a welcome to country a couple of days ago from the First Nations people here, because Jason Ryle has just been appointed for the first time ever the head of Indigenous here at TIFF, First Nation. So that on top of all the other really beautiful welcoming events, we've had this incredible integration with the First Nations people, which is really important for me. So I feel welcome to this country, and I feel welcome to this festival. So I'm right at home. I'm not leaving.
So thank you so much for your time, and good luck with the film. And I appreciate you talking to us here on FERNTV.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.